What's up, y'all? Hey. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in live with your girl, Dr. Najuma, on Living on Assignment Radio. Hey, Pastor Robert Black. Listen, y'all, thank you for being tuned in for another exciting hour of Living on Assignment Radio with your girl, Dr. Najuma. I'm so glad to be on with you all tonight. As usual, we have an amazing guest joining us tonight. And in a minute, I'm going to introduce him. But before we do that, y'all know the drill. Hey, y'all. Hey, Auntie Cynthia. Make sure that you all share out, especially all my Facebook Livers. But all of you that are listening, iHeart, iTunes, Accelerated Radio, y'all make sure to tune in and let somebody else know to tune in. So Snapchat, tweet, text, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you got to do, and let somebody know to tune in right now at acceleratedраdio.net, or they can join us right here on Facebook Live at Rev Juju on Facebook Live. So I'm glad to have you all on. In addition to being the host of this amazing show, I'm also the proud pastor of Word of Encouragement Church. So shout out to all of my Word of Encouragement Church family. Whoop, whoop. Yes, we had an amazing Sunday service. We had an amazing Sunday. Listen, if you're looking for a church or want to come and visit us, join us any given Sunday at 14115 Kornegay Avenue, 14115 Kornegay Avenue in Hawthorne, California. We go all the way up and worship in the Word every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. So come and join us. And if you want to follow us on our Facebook page at WOE Church, WOE Church, WOE Church. That's the same for Facebook and Instagram. So I pray that you had an amazing Sunday, and we had a great Sunday, so I pray that your Sunday was well. Hey, Sanders, Glow. Hey, y'all. Y'all make sure to tap, heart love, and share out with your followers. Please share out with your followers. I'm super excited about my guest who is on with us tonight, and I'm looking forward to having a wonderful conversation. He's first time. This is your first time on the show, Tim? Yeah. He's new. He's a first timer, y'all. And so it's good to have you on with us. So I want to introduce to some my brother, my friend, colleague, and work here in civic engagement work here in LA, Mr. Tim Kornegay.
Thank you. Am I close enough to the mic? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
You're good. So Tim, that's your camera right there. There you go. Yeah. So that's your camera right there. So feel free. You can look at me or you can look at the camera whenever.
I'd rather look at you.
Yeah, but sometimes if you ever want to talk to the audience, Okay. So we're on Facebook Live, so just so you know. So if you see me like talking to people, I'm not tripping. There's actually people on Facebook Live tuned in. So hey, all my Facebook Livers. Hey, Sanders. Hey, Dominic. Hey, Dom. So Tim, tell people who you are. What you do? Where you from?
As the Rev said, my name is Tim Kornegay. Born and raised in LA before it was a South Central. Prior to it being sanitized as South LA, I was one of those individuals that was born and raised down the street from USC. I'm currently the director of initiatives for Live Free California.
Beautiful.
And what Live Free California is a statewide organization comprised of 20 Black-led organizations across the state from San Diego to Sacramento.
Yes.
All doing work around civic engagement, voter registration, voter education, empowering Black folks. That's one of the initiatives. The second initiative is the one that I have a penchant for, and that's for development and relationship development with clergy, because I'm one of those individuals that wasn't very fond of clergy prior to developing the understanding that in every church, wherever there's a church, there's a neighborhood. So the building of power exists in creating relationships with the individuals who live in the community and those who attend churches. And until we get that understanding, it's going to be very difficult for us to once again realize anything close to Black power. Third initiative is what we call the Black Wellness Program, and that's a program that's structured around helping folks who are in this workspace, as they call it. I don't call it work because I'm in my purpose, but some folks call it work, and it's very challenging. It's very traumatizing. A lot of us walk around carrying of the burden of trying to make a difference and what no sounds like repeatedly, and it's hard. So the attrition rate is high. As soon as takes folks about two and a half years to really get good at what they do, but by the time we get good at what we do, we usually burnt out.
I got you.
And go get another job. So what we do at Live Free is we try to help folks get on the wellness journey to understand that self-care is critically important. You can't burn the candle at both ends and give up who you are totally into what you do, because then you'll have nothing left for yourself, and you might surrender and suffer from that grip attrition. So that's that. And locally, I'm one of the co-leaders for the Southern California Ceasefire Committee, and it's also structured around the same things. It just has an emphasis on really saving lives, those youngsters in the community who are losing their lives on a regular basis for no other reason than they don't answer a question that should be inviting relationship, but invite something else, and that's where you from.
I got you.
Anywhere else but here, that's an invitation to get to know somebody better, but unfortunately we've supercharged that with anxiety, and if somebody asks us where we from, we're flooded with fear, really, trepidation. So we're working on, as a group of community members. It's moms, it's those who have survived the traumatic phone call that says they've lost a loved one, and it's those who have been responsible. But we're in a safe space where everybody can be vulnerable and heal and engage in a degree of reflection.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Tim, for introducing yourself and the work that you do. Hey to all my Facebook Livers and to everyone who's listening on iHeart, iTunes, Accelerated Radio. Tonight we have our guest, Mr. Tim Kornegay, who was with Live Free Ceasefire, doing a lot of civic engagement work here in Los Angeles, and we're going to dive more into that. Listen, we want to invite you, the community, those that are listening, to call in and say hello, to call in and ask a question, to call in and just be part of this dynamic conversation. So the call-in number, y'all write this down, is 310-910-9676. 310-910-9676. Hit extension 1 and join the conversation. You might want to just say hello to Tim. You might want to say hello to me. You might want to just ask a question. You might want some more information. So keep the number, join the conversation, 310-910-9676. Hit extension 1. All right, and all my Facebook Livers, y'all make sure to give us tap, heart, love, share out with your followers, invite someone into this conversation tonight, because it's going to be great. So, Tim Kornegay, you do all this work. That's how we met, is in the work through LA Voice. And let me ask a question. So what led you to get engaged? Because you could have just lived your life, but you decided not to, clearly. So what, and our show is called Living on Assignment. I heard you say you're not doing work, you're living on purpose, which I really appreciate. Because that's how I see the work that I do, is my assignment. But how did you get into that? Tell us how you got into that.
Well, I started feeling a particular way. I was on a full paid scholarship by the state for an extended amount of time, and during the course of
that extended
learning who I was, I had a realization that the help that I was extending to folks who I said I loved was really wrapped around harm, and it was just temporary. That they would be doing good, they would be able to put themselves in a position to support themselves, but eventually the harm would surface and they would find themselves in these negative situations. So I started looking around at what I want to call the campus, and I started seeing the reflection of influence of individuals like myself and others, and how detrimental it was.
I got you.
And just having that epiphanal moment that I can't be any better, bigger as a street person. So either I was going to not graduate from that situation, and I was going to either die or I was going to lose the boundaries of my sanity. Neither one of those choices were something that I was really to like live with. So I had to figure out a new journey.
Yeah.
So the new journey was using the degree of influence that I had to do some self-reflection, some self-awareness, and purge myself of that seriously negative energy and start communicating with others like myself in a positive manner and really asking them to allow me to change.
I love it.
Because in that world that we live in, change is accepted externally. That you aren't a different person until somebody who felt like you were an adversary says, yeah, I accept that. Because until they accept that, you're still the person that you always were.
Wow.
So I had to do a lot.
Wait, I need you to slow down on that teaching. Say that one more time, because that was powerful. Change is what?
Yeah, change is controlled by externally.
It's external.
Yeah, especially when you're living a particular life.
I got you.
And individuals have put you in the box that you're this person. So when they see you, there's an encounter. There's an anticipation of an energy exchange.
Right.
So they get to determine. When you say, "Oh, I'm not about that life no more," then there may be somebody who you encountered in your journey, and as the calendars pass, that remember something that you may have done 10 years ago, 5, 15, whatever, and be like, no.
And they're the ones that say they
get to determine. They get to say like, no, you can't change now because I've been looking for you. So I've had this for a while.
Right.
So I went about the work of having conversations with individuals, like making their requests. Like, look, this is the person that I want to be, but I can't be this person unless these individuals who have been in this adversarial relationship with for over 30 years says okay. Yeah. And for somebody who had positioned themselves as I had, you don't get to say I don't want to play no more.
I got you.
You don't get to say I quit. I'm not. It's like no.
Yeah. You've been a part of something for too long.
Yeah, you've been a part of it. But by the I'm gonna say by the grace of, they was like, okay, maybe this time you're not being the person that you used to be, and you're not just trying to set us up for something slick.
Right.
We are going to extend the opportunity to you to change.
Wow.
And in that opportunity, I just started being a different person.
I got you.
Having different conversations, really like sharing with the younger generation of people, and they're like, look, you have to, if you're in this opportunity, try to grow up and become a man in here. Get some psychological survival tools, because this place will drive you crazy.
Absolutely.
One of these days, you're gonna look at that door because you're ready to go.
Yeah.
You've made that decision. You reach that point where you think you can handle, or you feel like you can handle
that's good.
your freedom again, and the door don't open. And years continue to go by
with that door not opening.
When it doesn't open, and you have to have like mechanisms and coping skills that you don't start going into these dark places that those of us who have been on those journeys find themselves, and you lose who you are, and you walk around an image of this person, but internally, like emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you're dead. And you just walking it off, waiting for the worst to happen or for another opportunity. So I start sharing with individuals, this is a journey. You can be better.
Absolutely.
And in doing that, they were like, okay, but what you gonna do when you get free? I'm like, I don't consider myself a black power leader or a civil rights leader, but one understanding I had is that the civil rights movement could have never been what it was without what we now call the hood.
Absolutely.
So the message I began to share was like, when the clergy and the concrete build a bridge and start communicating, we're going to get black power again. So for a while it started to sound like it was way out there, but I was developing these tools that would put me in the position to engage when I got free. I'd never heard of faith-based organizing.
I got you.
But I was a faith-based organizer in my head.
Absolutely.
So when I got free, my conversations were faith-based conversations. Like, what can we do to get the homies
Right.
and the homies. Because
Yeah.
I consider the pastors the homies.
Well, that's good.
Because we all living in the same community.
Absolutely,
we all doing
we
the
are.
same stuff.
Yeah.
We all walking up and down the same
Absolutely.
streets, having the same experiences.
Absolutely.
And for my generation, the term homie was an extension of love.
Absolutely.
It had an energy. It wasn't
Yes.
just something you threw out there.
Right.
It was something
You
that you
said-
really
yeah.
held
Yeah.
close to you. So the clergy that I move around with,
Yes.
I consider them to be the homies.
Oh, that's
So
good.
it's like, okay, how can we bridge?
Right.
How can we get folks who have the spiritual energy to connect with those that need that? Because the
Right.
fight cannot be won until some of us realize
Yeah.
that this physical body has purpose.
Absolutely.
That the spirit that exists
Yes.
in it
Yeah.
is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
If you can just activate it.
Right,
So
right.
I just started building relationships with folks who are
Right.
involved in the church, and
Yeah.
one day somebody presented an opportunity and asked me what did I know about faith-based organizing.
Right.
And I was like, that sounds like what I've been thinking about for the last 12
That's
years.
been on my mind for a minute. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, if you are tuning in just now, we are talking with Mr. Tim Kornegay of Live Free Campaign, Ceasefire, and just so much as he has shared faith-based organizing here in Los Angeles. Feel free to call and ask your questions. Join the conversation. The call-in number is 310-910-9676. 310-910-9676. Hit extension 1 if you want to join in the conversation. Tim, you said you said a lot of things I think are really powerful. I want to talk a little bit about the Live Free work. So Live Free is a campaign that it stretches from Oakland to
San Diego. Yes.
So right now they have a push. So can we talk a little bit about that? Like what's one of their main push? I know what it is, but for the sake of the audience.
Right now we're really zeroing in on civic engagement.
I love it.
The phrase, this is the most important election in history and you should vote.
Right.
Though it's been said repetitively year after year after year.
It actually is real this time.
It's always real.
Right.
Every election is the most important election in history, because if you take your finger off the pulse of what's going on, you will get elected officials who do not have your best interests
at heart.
Heart.
Yeah. You
will, I call them midnight decisions. You'll wake up at 12:01 and realize you're a criminal.
Right.
you haven't committed a crime, but some law has changed,
and you are
now. Literally a criminal now.
Yeah.
So
wait, I want you to dial back and say that slow again, because I don't know if everybody understood that. Like when a certain laws can change. Yeah. And because a law changes, you go from being a non-criminal to your status changing because the law changed.
Yeah.
And so this is why voting is very important. And it's not just, it is voting for the president, it is voting for, but it's also, we say more importantly, voting for the president is important, but your local elections are the elections that impact your day-to-day life. Those are the elections that can have you wake up, like Tim said, as a criminal because a law has been put in place. So talk more about the Live Free campaign. Yes, sir.
Well, we want folks to know that all elections are important.
Yes.
That all politics start at home.
Yes.
That your neighborhood council elections are important.
Yes.
Your school board elections are critically important because the school board officers determine the level of education that our kids are getting.
The curriculum, all of that, yes.
Yeah. And your kids spend more time at school than they do with you.
Yes.
So that's where they're learning how to be the adults that they're going to be. So if the school system is off track, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You can fill in the blanks on that right there. And then you have city council.
Yes.
City council elections, especially in Los Angeles, are critically important because the city council is a major influence on local politics. You're talking about stoplights, stop signs, speed bumps.
Yes. Come on, Tim. Talk about it.
Disadvantaged individuals, sidewalk access.
Come on.
Creation, bathroom access.
Yes.
All things local. And for those of us who are in wage earning jobs, wishing that we could make more money, city council is very influential in what happens with the minimum wage.
Yes.
Housing.
Yes.
Whether it's home ownership,
yes.
renting,
yes.
leasing, city
all
council is critically important. And you have the Board of Supervisors, and the Board of Supervisors in LA has the biggest budget in the country.
Board of Supervisors has the largest budget in the country. Yes.
So it's somewhere around 45 billion. It might be more. Because they may have gotten some money last week, so it could be $50 billion.
Right.
But the amount of money that they have to resource what's going on is enormous.
Absolutely.
And the Board of Supervisors helps initiate measures that impact the community that we all live in Los Angeles. If you've been on the freeway in Los Angeles, you're wondering where are all these people coming from? There are and estimated by the census, 11 million people in LA. So it's a bunch of, it's too many. It's a bunch of people. So it's 11 million people. Yes. And that's a big population to legislate around. 11 million people, and most are of voting age and can get registered to vote. They should be participating.
Yes.
Everybody, I'm going to say everybody who thought they couldn't vote can. The only folks who cannot vote in California is if you are not a naturalized citizen.
Yes. If you're not,
or if you've been deemed by a judge.
Yes.
And you remember, the judges are elected officials.
They're elected too, right?
If a judge decides that you're mentally incompetent, you can't vote. Everybody else who is of age and registers can vote. Whether you are on parole, active parole, or probation, you can vote. So
And I want to say this, because I think what you're saying right now is really important as it relates to who we think can't vote. Because so much work has been done with persons like yourself, LA Voice, Jay Jordan, and other entities in and around the country to ensure, and Joe Paul and others, there's so many organizations, I don't want to name names because I'll forget somebody, who've done a lot of work, who've done a lot of work in the community and with the civic engagement work to ensure that everyone can vote, even those that we think can't. And to your point, this is an important election year, local votes. We need everyone, we want everyone to be an informed voter and then cast your vote, because to not cast your vote is actually to cast a vote in the direction that does not serve your purpose, does not serve your community. So for those that say, I'm not going to vote, what you're actually doing is you're giving a vote to the other side of your issue, whatever that might be. And so remember what Tim said, you can go to bed, and if a law changes, you can wake up and legit be a criminal based upon how the law shifted if you're not in the voting process. So I just want us to kind of understand those dynamics, and I appreciate you breaking it down. So, Tim, where can people go to get more information about Live Free campaign, the work you're doing? Where should people go so they can get more of this detail? Hey, Sandra. Hey, Latricia. Hey, Peter Matthews.
To learn more about Live Free California, just go www.livefreeca1word.org.
Yes.
And that's our local work, but we also have a national organization that we're connected to, which is Live Free USA, where you can get more information, and it's www.livefreeusa.org.
And you've been talking a lot about civic engagement, so give a breakdown. And again, for anyone just joining us live, we're talking to Mr. Tim Kornegay of Live Free Campaign, Ceasefire, and one who does a lot of faith-based organizing here in and around Los Angeles County. But help people understand what civic engagement is for those that may not know. And if you want to call in, you have a question, you want to say hey to me or to Tim or whoever, feel free to call in. Our call-in number, write this down, 310-910-9676. Hit extension 1, 310-910-9676. Hit extension 1. So talk to us about civic engagement. What does that mean? Because people hear that term, but they may not know what it means.
What the foundation of civic engagement means getting informed.
Yes.
Reverend Najuma just said it. It's all about voting in an informed manner.
Come on.
And not voting for the best smile, the best hairdo, or the best wardrobe. Because we've all been led in different directions because we voted with our eyes instead of with our minds.
Yeah.
So what civic engagement is really doing the research and getting the understanding of how you can get involved.
Yeah.
It's attaching yourself to an organization that is doing political work.
Yes.
And working with them and learning how you can be more involved. Civic engagement is knowing when the election cycles take place, where you are, and how you can be impacted.
Absolutely.
It's engaging with groups of folks who are similarly situated. Thinking in the best interest of the broader community, not the individual community, because sometimes we want to vote in a silo manner where it just affects a handful of people.
Right.
But legislation that impacts a handful of people can end up impacting thousands of people and hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions
in an
of people.
adverse way, yeah.
If anybody remembers the 3 strikes law, voting a particular way that we think only can impact a handful of people can end up impacting hundreds of thousands of people.
Absolutely.
So the foundation of civic engagement is really research and engagement that leads to action that equals change.
I love it. I love it. Charles Dorsey says, even engaging with those you disagree with. Absolutely, Charles Dorsey, because this is not about everybody liking each other or it's not a popularity contest. It's about what you, Charles, and what you, Tim, are saying. It's about being informed and engaging on all levels. And so thank you for that, Dorsey. You said something a second ago, Tim, that I think is important that we kind of circle back to. And that is about understanding the, that there is process.
Yeah.
And if we're not involved in, we got to get involved in the process. And so civic engagement, knowing doing the research, getting information is important.
Yes.
And what I find, I don't know about you, is that's what turns people off. Is I gotta go and read this, I have to go and study this. But I want to say this. This is why organizations like Live Free exist. LA Voice exists because they help with the process.
Yes.
They help us understand how to engage. They help us understand what to engage in. They help us understand where to put our energies and where to put our time and where to put our money sometimes. And so this is why we're sharing with you, not just to listen to Tim tonight, but to get engaged, right? Because these organizations exist to help with the process of the research, the process of information gathering, the process of connecting with like-minded people, but also being in spaces to engage. Charles Dorsey says, voting has an impact. Informed voting has a greater impact. Got to connect to organizations who are already doing the work. Absolutely, Dorsey. And Charles Dorsey does a lot of great work. He's one who's been on our show a few times. So I appreciate you, Dr. Dorsey, for joining in the conversation. And again, tonight, my guest tonight is Tim Kornegay of Live Free Campaign and Ceasefire, and he does some faith-based organizing here in LA. If you want to call in the conversation, join the conversation. Our call-in number is 310-910-9676. Hit extension 1, 310-910-9676, hit extension 1. And so Live Free is all about civic engagement. And right now, the big push, yes, you must meet Tim Kornegay, Charles Dorsey. So I'll make sure that you two connect, because he's doing a lot of great work, and I think you and him have some paths. Definitely need to connect with each other. But what was I saying? I was saying something
about the civic engagement.
Civic engagement, right? My thought, I got distracted. But about the civic engagement piece, and Live Free does a lot more than voting.
Yeah.
They have other campaigns, but right now, because we're in a voting year, that's the big deal. That's the big idea. That's the thing we need to engage. Hey, Alexander. And so we want to make sure that you all are connected. So Again, Tim, tell them how they connect with you and Live Free campaign.
Yeah. You can find out more about Live Free California at www.livefreeca.org. And as Najuma said, it's really, even though we're focusing on civic engagement, because it's a voter season, but the real effort, the real purpose, the real thing that we're doing is really trying to bring people together and understand that we are all we got.
Yes.
And politics, it lives with us. It's in your house. It's everywhere. You cannot get away from it.
Everything is political.
I don't want to vote. I don't want to vote because I don't like this candidate. I don't like that candidate. So I'm just going to stay out the way. When you pull yourself out the way, as Najuma was saying, you create a vacuum that somebody else will feel.
Absolutely.
That 9 times out of 10 doesn't have your best interest
at all. Right. And we're clear. We're clear that politicians are not perfect people. We're clear that there's a lot that goes on. So it's not, those of us that do the work of civic engagement, it's not that we have blinders on and we don't see that some politicians are not perfect or they don't make mistakes. But here is the thing. We are also part of the accountability crew, right? So
most important part.
So it's not about just pushing vote and engage. It's also about being part of the accountability push, right? That we hold those what's that? Oh, what's the extension again? Tell them the extension again. It's that, just 1 second, Charles.
www.
Go ahead.
Live Free CA.
Live Free CA.
One word.
Yeah, Live Free CA, California. Yeah, livefreeca.org. Thank you, Tim, for saying that again. But so it's not about, we're not just saying let's get civically engaged to be engaged and to make a vote, but it's also to hold people accountable. But it's hard to hold somebody accountable if you're not in the process. It's hard to hold somebody accountable if they're seeing you for the very first time when you're there to complain, but you have not been a part of the process. Hey, Yvette. And so tonight's conversation is about introducing those of you that may not know, or reminding you. Maybe you need a reminder that not only is it an election year, but we need the community to be engaged. On whatever level you're on, whatever economic level, no matter where you are academically, no matter what your record is, there is a space for everyone to get engaged. And so we want you to get engaged with livefreeca.org, because not only do they have campaign going on around voter engagement, but there are other resources that community needs. Now, you do more than just Live Free.
Yeah.
You are part of Ceasefire.
Yes.
And shout out to Ceasefire. I was blessed to march with you all, walk with you all during the Martin Luther King Day parade. And we were deep at the parade. I was like, oh, hey, we out here. Listen, y'all, tap, heart, love on my Facebook Lives. If you're listening on iHeart, iTunes, Accelerated Radio, thank you for continuing to be tuned in. We are talking to my friend, colleague, Tim Kornegay of Live Free Campaign and Ceasefire. So talk to us about what is Ceasefire.
Well,
and it's interesting. You all were prophetic with that name, because it's popular now.
No relation, no connection, but with the same energy as we want to stop a degree of killing that's taking place. The birth of Ceasefire was 2005.
Yes.
Around the same time of the execution of Tookie Williams, there was a gang war taking place in South LA between two different gangs.
Yes.
And some individuals got the mindset that, hey, we need to stop this.
Yes.
So they had an initial meeting at Bethel AME on 79th and Western to have that discussion. These were active members who, if they weren't inside the church, may have been trying to kill each other.
Right.
Through that engagement there was a resolution reached.
Yes.
And Ceasefire was born.
The history.
And it's been having a meeting every Wednesday, with the exception of around a year during COVID.
Yes.
Since 2005.
Yeah.
It's
consistent.
Yeah, consistent.
And let me say this, because I just started attending. Tim has been trying to get me to go. My schedule freed up on Wednesday night so I can now attend. And I will say this, it's probably one of the most consistent meetings in and around LA, and I'm talking about on every level, because they have been organizing a meeting since 2005, but they also have outputs. It's not just meeting.
No, it's not just
like
meeting.
They deliver. And so for those of you that are thinking about wanting to, you're asking the question, I want to get engaged with the community, but how do I get engaged? I would invite you to come to a ceasefire meeting and start there. I mean, there's other opportunities, but because of their consistency, because of their long-standing commitment to the community there in South LA, it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
And I'm talking those of you on every level. Hey, Pastor James McKnight,
Big
who just
Mac.
logged in. Yeah, he's also a part. And I'm just grateful to have been introduced and to be a part of and just attend the meetings now. And my schedule is freed up. But for those of you that are thinking about you're saying, I've been wanting to be a part of what's happening in the community for some time. Where do I begin? I would invite you to come to a ceasefire meeting. And again, tell them the times again.
Yeah. It's every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
From 6:30 to 8:30.
Yes.
On 79th and Western at Bethel AME.
At Bethel AME Church, right. And they're there every week. And so it's a good place and for those that want to learn, those that want to support, those that want to be a part, those that want to make donations, whatever the case might be, that's a good place to start. Now, are there other organizations? Absolutely. Are there other people doing meetings? Absolutely. So this is not to diminish all the other phenomenal and amazing work happening in and around Los Angeles and South LA in particular, because that's where both of us are from. I'm just offering that Ceasefire has a really powerful...
Ceasefire has a uniqueness.
Yeah.
And the uniqueness is Ceasefire has former...
Yes.
Almost and active gang members.
Yes.
In the same space, communicating with moms, brothers, sisters, aunties, and uncles of people who have lost loved ones to violence.
Yes. Yep.
There are college professors that come.
Yes.
There are clergy that come.
Yes.
There are filmmakers that come.
Yes.
There are politicians that come. There are youth that come.
Yeah.
The magic of Ceasefire is the diversity.
Yes.
And everybody in there soon discovers you're either looking for a resource or you can be a resource for someone.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a hug or the pathway to understanding civic engagement or employment, all that exists under the roof of Bethel every Wednesday. And has consistently existed like that. And I am not only I one of the co-leaders, I'm an individual who benefited from walking through the doors of Ceasefire with curiosity in 2015 and met somebody who put me on my journey to be able to accomplish the little bit of things that I've been able to accomplish with this thing they call freedom. That's a blessing.
It's a blessing, but you're doing more than little things. you're doing some pretty good stuff, sir. So y'all get engaged with Ceasefire. And again, tonight we're talking to my friend and colleague Tim Kornegay, who was in the community doing the work, and let me correct that, doing his purpose.
Yeah, I'm in my
he's in his purpose. And it begins with individuals like you.
Yeah.
And Tim, you represent, and I'm going to say this, you represent a number of men and women like yourself with similar pathways and journeys that have taken that deep look within and decided to do something different. And I love what you said, that change is external. I hope you write about that one day or do something with that, but change is external. And I just thought that was beautiful. But this is what all of us can do, right? So for those that are listening on iHeart, iTunes, Accelerated Radio, and all my Facebook Livers, this is for all of us to live in our purpose, to look deep within, make the changes that need to be made, and figure out how to live in our purpose on every level. This is not just for those who have a record or a background, because the truth is we all got a record or a background of some kind. We're all a ex something of some kind in some way, and it's just a different path, a different journey. But the beauty of life, the beauty of life is that we get opportunities to get back to living in our purpose and contributing to our communities to make it better for the next generation or even the current generation. This is what engagement is all about. And there's a civic engagement piece, which Tim talked about, which is the voting, working with your electeds, knowing who your supervisors are, knowing who your council persons are. And then there's the community engagement, which I want you to talk a little bit more about with the violence reduction, the work you do with ceasefire, because there's civic engagement with our politicians, but then there's community engagement, and that's what you all do with the violence reduction. So talk to us a little bit more about that stuff.
Well, and then the biggest piece of community engagement is relationship building and relationship development.
Yes,
it's all about communicating with similarly minded folks where you can have conversations and be like, hey, individuals on this over here, he knows individuals over there. Can you have a conversation with somebody?
Yeah.
If you can't do it directly, and see if there's a way that this doesn't have to continue in the manner that it does.
Yeah.
It's about developing a relationship with somebody who's lost their person to street violence, and letting them know you understand. Yeah. And there's an empathy and a sympathy attached to that if there's an opening for it, you want to put yourself in a position that you can be support. That you can be that shoulder to lean on, or you can introduce them to somebody that is, or they may need some degree of therapy to address their traumas. That also exists in ceasefire. And what we really want to do is create a family environment where the exchange and, for lack of a better word, the love that we share for each other is reciprocal. And when you look at the person that's sitting next to you in that room, you want for them what you want for yourself.
Absolutely. We have a caller, so let's bring in our caller. Caller, are you there? Give us your name. Hello.
Hey, this is Charles Dorsey. How you doing?
Hey, Charles. Thank you for calling in. What's good, brother? Tell us where you calling from, Pastor Charles Dorsey.
Hey,
Dr. Charles Dorsey.
Calling from Southern California, now in the IE, but tapping in, man. Hey, Rev, I'm always inspired by what you do. I wanted to ask if you guys might pause to give a message to generation who's given up on civic engagement, lost hope in voting, and maybe possibly doesn't see the impact that they can have. You guys are passing both method and inspiration and tenure on, and I just don't want to miss an opportunity to hear the message that you would give if a young person who is trying to figure out how they can be won back into the struggle.
Right.
To do this work. So I wonder if you guys might be able to comment on that.
I appreciate that, Charles, and that's a great question. And it's the why question, right? Like, why should I do this? And for me, I'll start, and then I'll let Tim give his response. For me, I would the why that I would give would be on two levels. First, the practical, which is everything about our life is political. And I think what our young people have not learned or have missed out in the educational process is knowing that everything about their life is political, and that everything about our life is a result of a political decision. Everything from the clothes we wear, the colors available to us, to where people go to school, where they work, the income they make, everything from the music that they hear, everything is a political decision. Because whether it's a boardroom making decisions on what music radio stations will play, or it's the supervisor's decisions making decisions about what money will go to what resource, which then determines what your school and your academics look like, everything is political. So that's the practical. I would also, because I'm a pastor, right? I would also give some spiritual information in that even spiritually, we see politics, we see engagement even in the spirit realm. And what I mean by that is, even a person's not Christian, there are dynamics, forces, systems at play. There are laws, principles, laws of nature that go beyond, that just govern how things exist, right? There is the law of physics and the law of, gravity that governs how our very planets operate together, how you and I can walk on this earth that's spinning. But there's a governing thing called the law of gravity that allows you and I to stay flat-footed on the earth while it's spinning. So it's natural, it's supernatural. And so that's what I would share. And so for a young person to say, I don't want to engage, I would start with, baby, you don't understand how not engaging impacts everything about your life, because everything about your life is political, whether we're talking about in the natural, practical, or even in the supernatural. Everything is governed by something. And so this is why we have to engage. That would be where I would start. Tim?
Well, I would echo that and kind of break down as simple as possible for a younger generation that politics is just a decision making. It's a position of decision making, but these decisions aren't based on individuals. They're based on populations, they're based on cultures, they're based on communities. And I can't really add much to what Reverend Najuma said, but what I will add is I used to be young and I used to hate politicians too, along with a bunch of other folks, and I understand why youngsters may feel that way, because the definitions of the reasons for engagement aren't being simplified and made culturally relevant. For the younger generation, if you don't want older individuals with gray hair that you think are senile and don't know what they talking about and forgotten what it was like to be a teenager making decisions about your life, then you need to get involved. And don't get tied up on the term voting. Voting is just a single action. The real opportunity is presented in the accountability in the engagement, because once a political official is elected by their own legislative measures, they are employees of the community.
Absolutely.
So if they made promise, if a politician promises something and they don't do it, it's because you didn't hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
But if 1,000 of us vote, 10,000 of us vote, and someone says that they're going to do something and they don't do it, then we should show up as 10,000 and be like, you told us this is what you was going to do.
And you didn't do it.
You need to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And youngsters need to know, in the movements that have taken place historically, it doesn't matter how far you go back, the youth have been the engine for change. And the older folks have been the wisdom to fuel their direction.
Absolutely. And let me say this, Charles, and I think also it's me. Did we answer the question? What do you think? How do we do? Did we miss something?
No. I just, people are searching for purpose, and searching for meaning. And I think that there is a tremendous opportunity, a shift of responsibility that is upon us and that we can foresee. And I just hope that if people are kind of striking out in other areas, trying to figure out where they can really, that's where my head is at.
And I appreciate that people are looking for purpose and meaning behind what we need to do, and I think that's great. So thank you for that. I think what you just said, people are looking for purpose and meaning, might be an opportunity for a deeper conversation. So I may be bringing both you and Tim back and some other folk, and we do a live roundtable talk about purpose and meaning. I think. What you think, Charles? Sure. What you think, Charles? What you think?
No, I listen. Anytime.
Yeah, we might have to do. I think we can fit like 3 more seats in here. We might have to do a large conversation about purpose and meaning, and how that all ties in. And I will say this, and thank you, Dr. I hear, hey baby, I hear the baby in the background.
Bath time. Sorry, guys.
It's all right. No, it's good. Thank you. We love you. I appreciate it. When I grew up in school, we learned about civic engagement. I had poli-sci in junior high and high school, and I know that's not everybody's story. But I also think there's a huge missing of education in our academic system, and that in and of itself is not a coincidence. That in and of itself is political, because if you don't understand the process that you are actually involved in day to day, just going to school, and the school you go to is a political decision, then you don't even know when you're being duped. So I do believe there's an academic piece that in a lot of our schools is missing. So.
I don't want to date myself, but most folks who were born around the 70s got an education in political education.
Yeah, we did.
Every time it was a commercial for Soul Train when Schoolhouse Rock came on.
Come on, Schoolhouse Rock.
we learned how a bill became legislation.
Yep, that's
and it was stuck in our head. Everybody could go to school Monday and sing that song.
I'm just a bill.
And that's the political process. That's how laws are made. It's edutainment. And that's what youngsters need.
So listen, Bankhead is our tech. You don't know Schoolhouse Rock? I want you to do yourself a favor, Bankhead. And because Bankhead is of our younger generation, I want you to do yourself a favor, Bankhead, and look up Google Schoolhouse Rock. And it was something that played on. If you look it up on YouTube, the song will play. But Schoolhouse Rock and Schoolhouse
Public
Rock.
television.
Yeah.
And that was good television. And it was educational, and it taught you about the whole political government setup every Saturday morning before Soul Train came English, everything, how bills were made, how legislation was passed. So I think that's also part of it, Dorsey, is that our young people are not getting the advantage of that kind of education.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me about the Constitution?
He's playing it, Schoolhouse Rock, baby. You learned about I'm telling you, this was our Saturday morning. This was us Saturday morning. Yes. Y'all should see Bankhead's face.
At Soul Train commercial.
It was that in Soul Train Saturday morning.
Oh wow.
See, you learned something tonight. Listen, go watch all the videos and talk about it on your show. But that's how all of us in the 70s, how we learned about it, because it was that.
It was fun.
It was Schoolhouse Rock, Tom and Jerry, and Soul Train. That was Saturday
Electric
morning.
Company.
Huh? You do that now, though, all the kids.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, somebody needs to make Schoolhouse Rock popular again.
You remember Electric Company?
Oh, of course.
That's when Morgan Freeman started.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very educational.
Conjunction, junction. And then you learn about English. Conjunction, junction. What's your function?
How long?
Yeah.
You learned that when you were single digits.
Yeah.
And you still remember.
Yeah, you heard it every Saturday morning.
Powerful.
So it was very powerful. Listen, y'all, we about to wrap up the show. Thank you, Dr. Dorsey, for calling in. We educated Bankhead and about 1 million other young people on Schoolhouse Rock. I might have to post about some Schoolhouse Rock stuff, And but thank you, Tim Kornegay, for coming on to talk about Live Free campaign, ceasefire, the work that you're doing, the work that we all need to be a part of. Hey to Sharice, hey to Yolanda, hey to my auntie Cynthia. She says, thank you, Pastor Jew and Mr. Kornegay, for sharing this very useful and much needed information. I am sure it has blessed so many, including myself. Absolutely. So that's my auntie Cynthia, and I always got to give her a shout out because she's listening all the way from Bogalusa, Louisiana.
Okay.
And it's late there, but she's representing for the family. So she makes sure that my family tunes in, and I appreciate you, love you. Hey Brian, hey Terrell Tillman's on. He's been a guest with us before. So listen, y'all, go to Live Free CA.
Yeah, www.livefreeca.org.
Go check out Ceasefire. Come to a meeting on a Wednesday night, 6:30 at Bethel AME Church.
79th and West.
79th and West. And Tim, how do they find you on all the socials? If they want to connect with you.
My last name, it's either T_Kornegay or @T_Kornegay. But if you pull up my name on any of the social medias, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Even though I don't know how to TikTok, I'll still be on there because I like comedy. LinkedIn, I'm there.
Amen. And Kornegay is spelled Kornegay. Kornegay. That's right. Y'all make sure you follow Tim. Thank you for being tuned in for this we're gonna do that show. We're gonna bring in you, Charles Dorsey, and some others, and have a round table and talk about meaning and purpose. Because I think what Charles was saying was very real. And that so we can help our young people get back interested. You gonna play? You gonna close out some Schoolhouse Rock, Bankhead? Okay. So for those that don't, for those that are never knew, and for those that need to be reminded, here is Schoolhouse Rock closing us out.
Get involved.
That's where I find satisfaction. Yeah. To search, to find, to have, to hold.